Good evening and welcome to the Monday Huddle. I'm Bruce Hooley. That sharp-dressed man next to me is Sonny Folks, the founder of PressPros and we are here to talk about week one of the high school football playoffs, week two matchups coming up, state volleyball taking shape, and a big win by the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Ohio State Buckeyes survive at Wisconsin. We'll touch on all of it, and guess what? It won't cost you $9 if you buy a digital ticket to watch, and it won't cost you $15 to watch it in cash either. It is free, as is all of our content on PressProsMagazine.com, which seems like a good place to start tonight's content, which is about ticket prices, as Sonny Folks wrote today on PressProsMagazine.com.
Well, little did I know that there would be the kind of response if you go on social media and look at Twitter or on Facebook. I don't think it's on Twitter. If you look at the responses, that's the most that I can remember in 10 years of people weighing in with their displeasure about having to pay $15, seeing old people, elderly people, trying to get a $10 ticket at the gate on their cell phone, and they've never done that before, totally confused. People trying to help them. A lot of people just gave up, got in their car and went home in some places. I had more people weigh in today about ticket prices. A lot of people that didn't even read today's feature column. And it's been out there, but again, like the OHSAA does a lot of things, they don't go to the expense of really marketing this decision, putting it out there where a lot of people can see it. The only people who knew this from their website was the few people who occasionally go on the OHSAA website to see what the rankings were, the coaches' polls, something like that, or get the matchups for the weekend. Those were the only people who knew. Well, a day or two or even 4 or 5 days ahead of the game itself, those people are not going to be able to get out to the masses in an email or a tweet or something and say, hey, be thee aware when you get there, this is what it's going to cost to see the game. And then on top of that, you had 224 games, and a third of them, 74, I think is the number, that had winning margins of 35 points or more. It was a bloodbath on week one. The game that I saw was 50-8. Marion won 63-0. Ansonia beat somebody 57-6. Somebody beat Dixie 73-0. It just goes on and on and on and on. And, a lot of people said, this is not worth $15. Somebody at Minster actually told me, I heard him say, I can see the UD Flyers play for less than $15. So I can watch college football. But there was a little bit of an uproar there. And I don't, I doubt the OHSAA responds to this at all. If anybody is watching us tonight and wanting an opinion on that, I think in their minds they feel like they've done their due diligence. They published something in one of the papers in Central Ohio that said the reason we're increasing ticket prices, we need 2 auditors now, one to count the cash money and one to count the online ticket sales. We need more security for cash sales at the gate. Well, if you have half the cash sales at the gate that you ever had before, why would you need more security than you did previously? I don't want to. It just feels like they're kind of digging a hole over this thing, and there's just people unhappy. They don't understand seriously how corporate the OHSAA has become and why. Because for all the years previously, they've always said we're a nonprofit, but we're a not-for-profit. We need to make money to run our operation, and it just seems now that it's a very corporate running thing, and I think that has confused a lot of people. And again, as I said before, the OHSAA has never really done a very good job of communicating with the masses or marketing their product. And I think that's at the root of what a lot of people felt Saturday, Sunday, and we're still talking about today.
Yeah, your explanation in your column was the same explanation I got from Tim Street of the OHSAA, that they need to basically double up on everything from an administrative standpoint if they're going to take cash and if they're going to take digital tickets. It's obvious that their preference would be that they not take cash, because they would not be taking cash at any games if not for being forced by the Ohio General Assembly to accept cash starting in October. Now, the caveat that the OHSAA issues is that the organization that oversees Ohio high school athletics was not forced to take cash, that the member schools were forced to take cash by a vote of the General Assembly. Potato, patata, tomato, tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. I also believe you should not make it difficult for customers to come to your games. And let's call a spade a spade. The OHSAA has a business relationship with an organization called Hometown Tickets. And while they have told me that they did not guarantee Hometown Tickets a certain number of digital ticket sales, I can put two and two together. If you go on Hometown Tickets website, they display pictures of everyone who works for Hometown Tickets, and it makes the Marion local football roster look like they are short of players. They have so many people working for Hometown Tickets. So that is a very profitable entity, and I'm sure that they have a very nice relationship with the OHSAA as the exclusive ticket provider digitally of tickets for the OHSAA. So if the OHSAA has its way, there would be no cash sales anymore at all, which again, I disagree with, but they get to make the call on that, not me. The one thing I do know is that we come to you tonight, or at least Sonny Folks does, through the courtesy of our friends at Skynet Internet Services.
And I'll make this very quick. We appreciate their hospitality every week to donate or allow us to use their studio here in downtown Piqua. And as I say so often, if you want to stream from home on your stream from TV, if you want to work from home, if your kids can't do their homework, you got bad internet, especially rural people. If you got bad Wi-Fi, like I had for years because I live out in just where the hoot owls date the chickens, call these people and they will fix that for you. I'm talking about Craig and Mike Grissom at Skynet in downtown Piqua, 773-0998. That's right, I said the hoot owls date the chickens. And they'll come out, they'll answer the phone. First of all, the personal service is unmatched. And they'll identify your problem. They'll come out, they'll take care of it quickly. It's affordable. In fact, I pay half what I used to pay to HughesNet. So they're a good deal. They're good work. They're good people. Again, that's Skynet Internet Service in downtown Piqua. Mike and Craig Grissom, give them a call. They'll make things work for you.
And before we get to the football matchups for this coming second week of the high school playoffs, we have a lot of teams that are involved in pursuit of a state volleyball championship. That prompts our first comment tonight from Keith Brooks. He says, good to see you guys. Been a while. Hopefully catch up with you at the state volleyball tournament at the Nutter Center at Wright State. We, of course, have New Bremen, defending state champion. Last year, Coldwater was state runner-up. And the New Bremen girls team is right in the thick of it again. They will play Russia on Thursday night at 6 o'clock at Northmont. And the second game that night will be a Shelby County League matchup between Fort Loramie and Jackson Center. In Division III, St. Henry is in regional action Thursday night at 6 p.m. against Marion Pleasant. And in Division I, a couple of our Central Ohio teams, Dublin Scioto will face off against Bishop Watterson at 6, and Pick Central will take on Olentangy Orange at 7:30. Sonny, you are all over the volleyball over there in PressPros original coverage area. Tell us about what is going to be a very competitive night with a couple of teams that know each other very well, New Bremen and Russia, and Fort Loramie and Jackson Center in that Northmont regional.
Well, you got two teams in that regional at Northmont, that being Fort Loramie and New Bremen, that have been ranked 1 and 2 just about the entire season. Right now, I think Loramie is still number 1. I assume New Bremen is number 2. I haven't looked at the coaches poll on the OHSAA site this week. But I think that's going to be a highly competitive. I know it's going to be a passionate thing because Russia has been knocking on that door for years and years and years and years. They probably missed their window last year when they had a lot of seniors on that team that were really good players, good leaders, a lot of experience. cool under fire, if you will. And they're so well coached by Aaron Watkins. And it is his goal every year to get to the regional round, and he's done it like 4 or 5 years in a row, and they just haven't been able to break through. And it's not going to be easy having to play. I think you said they play New Bremen. They played earlier in the year. New Bremen won that. That was very, very early, like the first or second match in the year, in the first week. And New Bremen's tough. You know, when you get them on a night when they're hitting and getting shots in the court, their serve, they're a very aggressive team offensively, and of course defensively, they're very athletic. They're just a tough team to beat. They're not 3-time state champions in the last 5 years for nothing. They've got the program there, the culture, if you will, built for volleyball. On the other side of the coin, I haven't seen anybody play better this year than what I've seen Fort Loramie play, including New Bremen, including Coldwater, including a couple of times that I've seen St. Henry. Those are Division III teams, Coldwater and St. Henry. John Rogers has done such a great job. He used to be the volleyball coach at Akron University. He is at Fort Loramie now, and his kids have really bought into the whole idea of weight room strength conditioning, playing the best opponents that you can possibly play, and preparing yourself for Thursday night. This Thursday night, not just any Thursday night, this Thursday night. And Jackson Center, again, a team coached by Kim Metz out of the Shelby County League. They have played Fort Loramie twice this year. I saw both matches. Loramie won them both. I'm telling you, Jackson Center on a given night can beat anyone. They're that well coached, and Kim always has something up her sleeve. So that's going to be an exciting match. The Saturday final on that will be worth $15. If you go see that, that's going to be worth $15 because it's going to go 5 sets. So whoever plays on gets through this the semis on Thursday night. Let me talk for a minute about St. Henry, who knocked off Coldwater last week in the districts to get there in the regional. Who'd you say they played?
Coldwater, St. Henry plays Marion Pleasant in the regional semifinal.
Nothing about Marion Pleasant. Haven't seen them, haven't read about them. But let me tell you this. You better be athletic if you're going to play St. Henry. You better be able to cover some ground because they're going to come out fired up. Trish Rosenbeck does a superb job of getting her girls ready. Another one of those programs that has been on the brink of breaking through and getting to winning a state title here for several years. And they feel like this year they have probably, and I agree, they've probably progressed as much from week 1 through now as anybody that I've seen. I'll say that about Jackson Center as well. So it's going to be a great week of local volleyball here. And you got some teams I think everybody sort of looked at along the way and said, these are the teams that are going to get there. I think the one outlier, there might have been some question about Russia, but Russia really played well in the sectional/districts and earned their way into this. And so it's going to be a good night. Thursday night's going to be bonkers at Northmont because all of Shelby County will be there, Hoot Owls notwithstanding. And then, of course, I'll probably make the trip to Kalida to see the Division III semifinal with St. Henry. So I'll be making a road trip, and we'll see if we can get the Young and Allen Brads and Julie to go to Northmont and cover that as well as they can.
So would I be wrong to say that the Saturday 2 p.m. regional final at Northmont is, in effect, the state championship in Division IV girls volleyball?
Because you cannot count out people like Tiffin Calvert, for instance. They are so good and have been so good for so long. I don't know who got through in the other regions. I don't know what the other regional brackets look like. But I'm guessing Tiffin Calvert is there. They're the one team that has given New Bremen fits. I can tell you this at the state level. And they're just very good. I mean, they're one of those programs up there like Diana's got at New Bremen where they start them in the 5th and 6th grade and they grew up dreaming of being there on this Thursday night.
Well, I was looking at the pairings there for a second, and little old Plain City Shekinah is in the regionals. They have a phenomenal player whose name I cannot recall at the moment. But as I look at the other teams in that, we have Convoy Crestview, Ayersville, Tiffin Calvert is indeed in there. They play Thursday night at Defiance High School. So, you know your volleyball, and PressPros covers volleyball extensively, and we'll have great coverage of volleyball late on Thursday night. Of course, Friday is all about high school football. Do you have something else you wanted to say about that?
You got to tell me who Shekinah High School is. Now, I've been around Plain City a lot for a long time in Madison. I know my Madison County pretty well. I have never heard of that high school.
Shekinah is a very small private school that is located, you obviously know where I live. It's about 3 miles from my house. So it is the epitome of a little country school, private school, but they have one phenomenal player who is getting D1 offers, and she's an amazing story. And maybe I'll write about her sometime because she is truly a unique story on and off, on and off the court. Touch of a cold here, so I apologize for that. Let's get to our high school football playoff pairings. There were, in fairness to the OHSAA, which allows, much to our chagrin, 16 teams in each region, there were 10 2, 3, and 4 seeds combined that lost their openers. There were 20 top 6 seeds that lost. And there were 46 teams that were in the top 8 in their region that lost. That's across, of course, 7 divisions. We did not suffer, we being the teams in the PressPros area, any of those upsets. As Troy in Division 2, 10-1, advances to take on Lima Senior, which is 9-2 and is the 7 seed. Then in Division 3, you have Tippecanoe, 9-2, will play host to Chaminade, which is a number 10 seed, 7-4. In Division 5, the vastly underseeded Coldwater Cavaliers. I refuse to believe that there are 20 better Division 5 teams in the state of Ohio than Chip Otten's Coldwater Cavaliers. Nevertheless, Coldwater, with a win over Bellefontaine, by the way, is a 6 seed going to number 3 Archbold in a matchup of 10-1 teams on Friday night. In Division 6, Sunny Folks team to watch for all season long, the Anna Rockets, one of the few 8 seeds that won. They now take on top-seeded Williamsburg. Also in a loaded region, number 5 Tri-Village and my alma mater, West Liberty Salem, will play Friday night in a matchup of 10-1 teams. And Versailles, Ryan Jones, 9-2. Tigers will take on 7-4 Twin Valley South. And we'll talk about those, and then we will get to what is of course, loaded with MAC teams and other teams from our area, Region 28, which is Division 7. But, Sonny, let's touch on some of those matchups that I just outlined.
Well, I think right here in Miami County, one of the ones that people are really interested in is Troy. Troy's had a great year this year, 10-1 at this point. I don't think anybody expected them to be this good this soon under Troy Everhart. But you got to give them credit. They figured out early last year, after a couple of bad beatings early in the year, what they've got to do to play winning football. And they discovered what we got to do is power football. Turn around, give it to Jahari Ward, and run the football. And they've done that this year. They haven't gotten too far away from that this year. And they've been very good. I mean, you look at the way they have been able, since their one loss, and they will tell you that was the worst they played all year, the night they lost to Tip City, I think by a point, 14-13. So they're steamrolling teams with that running game. They have not played a team that has a dominant passing game. They're on a crash course for one when they meet Anderson High School, because that's all they do is throw the ball. And I think Anderson knocked them out last year. But Troy is a team here in Miami County that especially, and justly so, because Troy's Everhart has done a great job there in identifying their strengths, and they play to it, sort of like Marion Local does. They've latched onto that. Their defense has gotten, I think, progressively better. And so I think that is one of the games that I will highlight on the picks on Friday night as being a really, really good game locally. I'm going to give some credit again to the Ansonia Tigers. They got Mechanicsburg coming in on Friday night. Ansonia is like Troy. They run the ball. They're not going to throw it unless it's shaped like a hubcap and they can, throw it a long way, a frisbee, something like that. They just don't do it. And they're good. They're good at it. They know what they do, and they do it well. Keegan Weiss is the number one running back in the Western Ohio Athletic Conference. He's got 2,000 yards, a little bit more than that. And they rely on him, and he has not let them down. He's durable. Somebody was telling me the other day they feel like he's got as good a step in the hole, if you understand what I mean about when he hits the line of scrimmage, about his instincts, about his first move once he has contact, and hasn't gotten a lot of the media over in Dark County haven't given him a lot of attention, but he's really good. Ironically, Mechanicsburg plays the same way. They are not going to throw it. They're going to run it. Kirk Forrest, his team always plays like a group of 189-pound class wrestlers. They are physical. They're going to hit you. They're going to rough you up. What's that old saying that we used to hear about? They play to the echo of the whistle, not just the whistle. So Ansonia is going to have to play well, but I do think Ansonia has played better competition this year than maybe what Mechanicsburg has in the Ohio Capital Conference. So that's one of my highlight games as well. Let me give you a couple others here, just looking down. You talked about Anna and Williamsburg. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised if I pick Anna over Williamsburg this week, because again, Anna, I've said all year, they're athletic, they're physical. I thought they would be better at the first half of the season than what they were, but I think in the second half, they've really gotten better. I love Alex Shappy, their quarterback, because he can not only run the ball, he can throw it. He can fling the ball, and they've gotten better about going and catching it as well. I just think they've got athletes. I think the longer they played, they got better. Don't be surprised if they hang one on Williamsburg, who's, I think, 10-1. But again, you look at strength of schedule when you get to this point of the season and see who has played against who. I'll tell you another great game here very locally. It's going to be Wapakoneta and Butler. I've got this circled on the Friday night picks. I have no idea who's going to win this, but I'm telling you something. Wapakoneta really, you people up there in the WBL who are watching us tonight, Wapakoneta really impressed me in week one, the way they played Marion Local. Even though they blew a 2-score lead in the last 5 minutes of the game and allowed Marion to get back in that game. They botched, if I remember right, an onside kick. Marion got the ball, scored, and that's how they won the game. Wapakoneta is a tremendous football team. They're physical. They're athletic. Travis Moyer does a superb job in coaching them. And I don't know if Butler has seen a team as physical, Bruce, as what Wapakoneta impressed me that night against Marion, because that was a savage game, and it was week one of the season. So they've gotten better as the season goes on. They've got some quality wins in the WBL, St. Mary's being one of them. In fact, they shut St. Mary's out, I think, 14-0. So they've got, and Salina they beat 30-7 or something like that. And Salina's had the best year that they've had in recent years. So there's 3 games right there that I think really, if you got to spend $15, I think you're going to be highly entertained if you go to any of those 3 games.
Well, you can, of course, buy your tickets in advance. Students $9 and adults $12 if you don't mind paying the service charge, which I mind paying the service charge, but it is more. 60% more if you are a student. 60% more, from $9 to $15 if you want to pay in cash, or if you have a life and live it and can't plan for Friday night in advance of Friday night. But that is how they do it, and it's not going to change. But what we're going to do now is take a look at our matchups in Region 28, which is, of course, led by the defending state champion Marion Local Flyers. They're 11-0. They'll play Cedarville, another one of the 8s that survived. The 8s were only, let me look this up. The 8-9, the 8s won 10, and the 9s won 18 matchups. So if you're an 8, you're an endangered species. Cedarville is an endangered species, in my opinion, taking on Marion Local. New Bremen, one of the 13s that won. The Cardinals under Chris Schmidt get to play number 5 Minster. I am amazed at what James Niemeyer has been able to do, stepping in for Brogan Steffi. Minster is 9-2, and they are the 5 seed. Sonny went through the Mechanicsburg and Sonia matchup. That's a 10 against a 2. And St. Henry with Brad Luthman fighting off what many people thought might be his final game as St. Henry's coach, upsets Riverside, and now they are a 14 seed taking on 11 seeded Fort Loramie in Region 28. How about your analysis of Region 28, Mr. Fultz?
St. Henry is 3-7 with the regular season. I picked them last week to beat Riverside at 9-1, and I was confident that they were going to do it. I think they're a good football team. I think they got good athletes. I don't know how good a football team they are, but I know they got some athletes up there. And there's a lot of pride in St. Henry about their football legacy. So I wasn't surprised at all. And I'll tell you another one, too. You got 2 teams named Redskins this week, St. Henry and Loramie. Loramie this year, 6-5 with their win over Southeastern the other night. Love the way they did it, 21-0 in the second half. But they're going to have their hands full with St. Henry. St. Henry's a team that I really think have an edge to prove something at this point of the year. And when you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, that may be as much motivation as you need. You don't want to be embarrassed. You want to come out and you want to prove that 3-7 was an aberration. I would not be surprised at all if that game is a coin toss at the end, or not a coin toss at the end, but, you pick 'em game at the end, because it's going to be that close, and I think it's going to be very competitive. And I think there's going to be a lot of hitting going on in that game. You talked about some of the other games. New Bremen against Minster. They got beat by Minster 40-14 3 weeks ago, and I can't see, honestly, you got to be a pretty good football team to cover Minster's passing game for 4 quarters, because somebody's going to slip, somebody's going to fall down, somebody's going to make a mistake in coverage, and they can throw it. Niemeyer is no Brogan Steffi, who was, I think, superb at throwing the ball, and he's still got the broken arm. But James Niemeyer is a great runner, a little bit bigger than Steffi, can throw the ball. That team, by the way, has come together. They're defensively a lot more instinctive, I think, than what they were early in the year. Minster's a nice football team. If they get by, and I would expect them to, quite frankly, on Friday night, and get to the regional finals, they're going to be a handful. They're going to be a handful for somebody. And in this particular year, where I think you can throw a lot of those seedings out, you talked about the 9s beating the 8s, or you talked about some 2s getting beat by 15s. It's a very vanilla year in football across Ohio. You got a few outstanding teams, but you don't have as many teams in that 6, 7, and 8 range of seeds that are as good as they were, say, 2 years ago. And that's nothing more than the cycle of athletes. And it happens, and it'll be gone in another year or two. The kids that are playing this year are going to get a lot of experience, going to be a lot better next year. So we may not be having this particular conversation next year. But Minster is very good. You talked about Cedarville and Marion Local. Cedarville has no idea what they're about to see. Now, actually, they do. And I think I've heard teams say, it's a privilege to get to come here and just experience what happens at Marion Local, to see the crowd, to see the culture, to see the environment, the excitement. This is what small school football should be. I wish it could be that way everywhere. Marion's got it, and they don't give it up easy.
Well, we were talking about Brogan Steffi, and of course that was the headline injury this year. So far, we've not had any consequential injuries in the playoffs, but we get to week 12, they start to pile up, and if you or the athlete in your family is injured, we would highly recommend that you see our friends at Orthopedic Associates of Southwest Ohio. Isn't that right, Mr. Folks?
Well, they got a lot of places where you can go. They got 7 or 8 offices from Hamilton all the way, I think, up near maybe in the Lima area, and from the Indiana border almost over to Urbana in that region over there. That's probably not correct, but I mean they've got 7 or 8 offices. They great reputation, great doctors, and great compassion and care across the full spectrum of what they do. They're very well known in this area over here, the Orthopedic Associates of Southwest Ohio, Dr. Matt Heckler at Sydney, Dr. Haddock. We had the foot surgeon who gave me such a great explanation about what happens with Achilles tendons. When you bust an Achilles tendon, it was so good and correctly predicted to me when I did that article 3 weeks ago. He was talking about Joe Burrow and his calf injury because the calf and the Achilles are connected. And he was telling me, he said, it's not like the Achilles because it's not Achilles tendon. He said it is actually a muscle. And he says muscles because they get, blood supply and blah, 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 and doctor talk, are going to heal much quicker. He said he's going to be fine. If he doesn't re-injured, he's going to be fine. He looked pretty fine yesterday against the San Francisco football 49ers. And so I can't say enough about the relationship we have with OA doctors. They're great. They're helpful in the official practice and outside the practice as well, as they frequently give their time to do articles with us, kind of how to or why things happen, how it gets fixed, and how soon you can expect to get well. So that's Orthopedic Associates of Southwest Ohio.
I will echo your assessment of Joe Burrow yesterday. Man, oh man, were the Bengals impressive. I know, Browns fans, you beat the 49ers too, but you didn't have to play against Christian McCaffrey. The Bengals did not have to play against Deebo Samuel, but you're playing a Niners team that had lost 2 in a row, playing at home. You got to figure San Francisco is loaded for bear for that game. And that was just a different Joe Burrow, running the ball like he did during their Super Bowl run, completing 17 consecutive passes in one stretch, using his tight ends, Jamar Chase getting open, T. Higgins getting open, Tyler Boyd. I mean, Joe Mixon looked good. They had everything working. Their defense, they got screwed out of a turnover late in the game. Okay, well, we'll just force a turnover on the next play too, Mr. Referee. Man, was that a dominant win. There was no point in that game I thought the Bengals were going to ever lose that game. And I know the AFC North is crowded, but the Cincinnati Bengals, despite starting 1-3, look like the class of the AFC North to me.
Actually, NFL football is fun to watch when you have somebody like Joe Burrow on his game. I know Jared Goff's playing tonight for Detroit. He's had a fabulous season. It's fun to watch those guys play when they can pick you apart the way they can. The execution, the skill is such a professionalism is at such a high level, and I don't think I've seen anybody do it better than what Joe Burrow did it yesterday. Reminded me a little bit of the game against Baltimore he had 2 years ago, and I think he threw for 500 yards or almost 500 yards. He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch, and those guys, choreography aside, are really entertaining to watch when they're at the top of their game.
The Buckeyes get a win at Wisconsin. They are not the offensive juggernaut that they have been in the past. They're a little bit banged up, but Travion Henderson broke that one open with a late run. And I assume that our Jeff Gilbert will be in lovely, although I've never been there to vouch for it, but I'm sure it is lovely, Piscataway, New Jersey on Saturday for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
We will be there on Saturday night, and going back to this past Saturday night, I don't know if anybody expected Henderson, one, for sure to play, but two, when it was obvious that he was going to play, I don't think anybody expected 24 carries for 162 yards and a touchdown. And especially when you've been out 3 weeks with an injury, you come back and the burst he made for the 33-yard clincher at the end, that looked like Barry Sanders. It really did, because he had to make a couple of moves to get to that lane and wide open down into the secondary, and he just outran everybody. He's the real deal if he's healthy, if he's on the field, and let's hope they stay healthy with him for the next 5 weeks.
All right. Before we get out of here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the folks, Mr. Folks? Perhaps a prediction on Game 3 of the World Series?
Well, I think the World Series, first of all, is fun to watch because you got two teams there. I'm almost missing the Yankees and the Dodgers in the World Series. I know the Dodgers won it a couple of years ago. I'm almost missing seeing the Yankees in the World Series. It's been so long since they've been there. But it is nice to see new blood. And I am sort of a closet Rangers fan because I know a lot of people in the Arlington-Fort Worth area. They've taken me to the ballpark. And Bruce Bochy, by the way, the manager, I'll just tell you a quick baseball story. When I was an A-ball in the Florida State League, Bruce Bochy was the catcher for the Astros team in Cocoa Beach in the Florida State League A-ball. When I moved up to Double-A, Bruce Bochy was the catcher for the Columbus Astros in Columbus, Georgia in the Southern League. And then briefly in Triple-A, I ran into Bruce again before he went to the big leagues with the Astros. And then I got to know him very, very well. Great catcher, good guy, has been a superb manager. And I always kind of got the feeling, you know, even when you see guys every day in and day out on the playing field, you know, this guy's probably as smart as anybody out here, including me, as far as knowing the rules. Bruce knew it all. He had it all down. The game of baseball, how the game was played, the rules by which the game was played. And he's certainly come on and has done that. So I always root for Bruce because he's won the 3 World Series with the Giants. He got to the World Series with the Padres. He's a Hall of Famer, and deservedly so. I wish his health was better because it's kind of painful to watch him cripple out to the mound when he goes out to change a pitcher. But Bruce Bochy is a class guy and a Hall of Fame manager.
Well, I would like to thank you, Mr. Folks, for the kind words that you wrote about me on the site. I would certainly also like to thank everybody who has asked about me. I feel pretty good. I'm tired a lot, but that's okay because for a long time I was artificially energized by the steroid that I was taking post-surgery. So now I'm able to sleep, and I'll begin treatment on Monday. 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, and then we'll take a month off, and then we'll do somewhere between 6 to 12 months more of chemo. But my long-term prospects are good. I wish I could promise you all that I will see you at the state football finals, but that'll be right as the 6th week of radiation is ending. So I don't know how I'm going to feel through this, but it's something that I'm looking forward to completing and not dreading. And so I appreciate everybody who has expressed interest, and trust me, it is killing me not to be at games on Friday night and writing about high school football, as it will be difficult for me not to write about high school basketball. But as everything goes well, maybe you'll see me back out there soon. And I just appreciate everybody reaching out. And Sonny, your kind words written about me are deeply appreciated. So with that, I'll give you the last word.
Well, we had people who missed it the other night. 6 people come up and ask about you, and how can we get in touch with Bruce? I said, just send an email to me at PressPros. I'll forward it to him. I think you got 1 or 2 of those today at least because I know I sent them. And so, yeah, it's great to hear people commend you on your work, and that's very kind. And it gives you really a pretty good idea about what the majority of people are really like. Out there, you know, the minority gets a lot of the headlines today, but there's a lot of good people out there who really do care about each other, and especially in this case about you. So we're thankful for that. Great weekend of sports coming up. I hope you enjoy our volleyball coverage on Thursday and Saturday as well. I think that's going to be really juiced and a lot of fun to not only watch, but to write. I hope you enjoy reading about it. And, of course, another cracker night, Friday night, of high school playoff football here on PressProsMagazine.com. Buckeyes coverage, again, as we said, on Saturday with the big tilt up in Piscataway with Rutgers. Always a lovely place to visit, and kind of a snake hole to go play football in, too. You gotta have your A game when you go up there, and I'm sure they will. With that, Bruce, thanks for running things, pushing the buttons tonight. We'll see you again next week on Monday night with another edition of the Monday Huddle. Have a great sports week, and be careful.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram at PressPros Magazine. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is at PressPros Mag. Thank our sponsors when you're out and about, because they make all of our content free to you. And we thank you guys for watching the show, for sharing our content with your friends, and for letting your friends know about our content, and the fact that we do it, we think, better than anybody else does. And we appreciate your role in that, sharing our content with your friends. So have a good night. Enjoy game 3 of the World Series, or Monday Night Football, whichever is your preference. And we'll see you out and about at the games this weekend. Have a great night.